Welcome back to Choirwire, the podcast keeping music educators connected to the art of teaching. I'm Alex, your host. Today we're talking about something that every middle and high school choir director wrestles with, developing tone in adolescent singers. Now, if you've ever had a sixth grader shout singing through a warm-up or a tenor section that sounds like a pack of caffeinated squirrels, you're in good company. Adolescents are still figuring out their voices, and honestly, so are we. So let's break it down. What tone development actually means, what's realistic, and how we can guide students toward healthy, beautiful singing without crushing their confidence. Especially at the beginning of the school year, it's really important that we consider these things. Tone is one of those words we throw around a lot. For instance, blend your tone, fix your tone. That tone is giving a haunted house. I feel like I've said that before. But what we really mean is resonance, where the tone vibrates and how it's shaped. Breath support, the fuel behind the sound. Vocal placement, forward, lifted, not buried in the throat. Freedom, no tension, no strain, no, I'm trying to sound like Beyonce, but I'm 12. And here's the kicker. Tone isn't just taught, it's grown. Like a plant, you water it, give it sunlight, and occasionally repot it when puberty hits. I can speak to this for a fact because I've been in re-auditions for the professional choir that I sing in. And so every couple of years, our singers have to re-audition. So it's great to be able to listen to these re-auditions and hear how much our adult singers have grown. I've been with this choir since day one and listening to auditions since day one. So hearing some of these adults grow so much is a testament to your voice is still growing. Let's talk about the voice changes because adolescent tone is a moving target. Treble voices might get breathy, pitchy, or suddenly shouty. Changing voices, especially tenors and basses, might crack and drop or sound like a frog with a cold. And emotionally, they are self-conscious. They're comparing themselves. They're terrified of sounding weird. So our job isn't just about vocal technique. It's emotional safety. We create a space where cracking is normal, exploration is encouraged, and tone is a journey, not a judgment. And this is where that creating community really comes in handy. Before you do any of this, before you even have them make a sound, make sure that you created a safe space for your singers. Here's some tone building strategies to try with your choir. Use the E, ooh, and ah to explore resonance. Use those vowels and do sirens through them. Just make silly sounds using those vowels, sirens high, sirens low, sirens all the way around, a mix of both to allow students to just explore with their voice and explore the different tones and timbres of their voices. When I was teaching sixth grade trebles, one of the exercises that I used was, let's all try to sound like an ambulance or police car. And so I had them, make their siren like, woo, woo, woo. And so I would pretend like I'm an ambulance or a police car and, all however many sixth graders, 60 or whatever, I would be in front of them and I'd pretend like I'm driving my car. And as I drove past them, in front of the ensemble, they would get louder or softer as I went by. So you're also practicing a little bit of dynamics too. So it's like I would start out on one end and they'd go, woo, woo. And as I got further away from them, they'd go, woo, woo. Excuse my voice. And then as I got closer to the other end, then those students on the other end would get a lot louder as well. So it's a fun thing to play with and practice. And they're making sounds and it's no judgment, and they're exploring their voices. Teach low breathing with visuals, like balloons or those geometric shape things that you pull out and they expand. I forget what they're called, but we've used those before as well. And those really help with seeing visually the idea of breathing low. We've also used pool noodles, believe it or not. If you take pool noodles and stick them underneath your students' armpits, or they stick them underneath their armpits, and you feel that breathing expansion, oh man, that helps so much to get them in the feeling of what it should feel like when they breathe low. You should also play recordings of your example that you're looking for your students. I think we've talked about the term oral image before, but if we have not, if this is your first episode listening, here it is again. So your oral image, play recordings of your oral image, adolescent singers and choirs with great tone. Then ask your students, what do you hear? What makes it work? Build their ear before you build their voice. They need to know exactly what your target is. There is no way that you can build tone for adolescent singers by starting them out on some vocalese that you learned in college with your vocal teacher or your vocal coach. So let's stop all of that right now and start with humming or lip trills. And I start out with a simple 3-note exercise. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, or humming on an NG. Keep it gentle, stretchy, and scaffolded. No vocal Olympics at 8 a.m. or however early you're teaching. And continue to say your voice is growing instead of you're off pitch. Say, let's explore that sound instead of don't sound like that. Tone grows best in kindness. Sometimes we want to fix everything all at once. I'm guilty of that. But tone development takes time. So ask yourself, is this a tone issue or a confidence issue? Is the student ready for feedback or do they need encouragement first? Can I model the sound instead of correcting it? And remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. It helps students love their voice enough to keep using it. That is so important for our beginner singers. I had to say it today in class, and it's day 3, that you should not be afraid to make a sound in this class. We're all learning together. That's why I have a job. We had a parent reach out to us and say, oh my God, my kid is so scared because they got put in chorus. And this is also another thing that we have to train our parents to stop saying. Please stop saying that your child can't sing. I cannot stand that. The mom went on to say in the email, I hope they have auto-tune in choir. How rude is that? So usually when that happens, the kid ends up being a star singer and the kid loves it. So we'll see what happens. Update later. Let's talk about something else that might cause a little bit of controversy in the Choirwire community here. Let's talk about our vocal models as a choir director. Now, disclaimer. I know that everybody comes from different backgrounds and everybody is coming from different walks of life. Everybody's coming from different resources. Everybody's coming from different skill levels. I will attest, I started out as a band kid. I did not know how to sing at the beginning of this journey where I wanted to become a choir director. I was trained enough to get by when I started college. And then I went to a really great college and I had really great voice teachers and I was able to learn a lot. And then through that, I was able to improve and be around other singers who I admired and I wanted to sound like them. So I basically emulated their sound, and I felt like that definitely helped with my vocal model. There were lots of things that I learned in college from my professors that were teaching our music education courses. And I remember one thing specifically from the great Judy Bowers. And she said, actually, I think she was sitting right next to me. And it was in one of our practicum classes. And she said, take out all that vibrato. Those kids aren't going to know how to match with that vibrato. If you're listening, Dr. Bowers, I'm so sorry. But that is something that I remember from her. I remember her saying, it was either to me or somebody, I can't remember specifically, but take out the vibrato. They're not going to be able to match, especially if you have a wide vibrato. And that's no fault of you, but if we are truly setting up these singers from the get-go, like this is their first opportunity, some of them, at singing, we want to set them up for success. If you have this wide vibrato, if you have some vocal faults, guess what they're going to take after? They're going to take after that. So just be considerate of that when you are singing to your adolescent students. So when I first started teaching middle school, I sang everything very, very simplified. Everything was straight, no vibrato. So that way my students didn't pick up on that. And I think that helped with pitch clarity. Some of these kids are having issues with matching pitch, period. So if you give them something as complex as singing with vibrato, that's going to really give you some problems from the get-go. Vibrato is natural, obviously, but I will say there's a degree of differentiating vibratos out there in the world, and we just have to be considerate of, is my vibrato too Machine Gun? Is it too Snow White? Is it too double wide, dump truck wide, So we have to be considerate of those things. Let's say that you are a teacher and you're new to teaching choir. Let's say you taught band or orchestra before. I think it would really, really behoove you to either jump in a choir somewhere, a community choir, to practice your singing skills, or take voice lessons, something that gets your voice moving, and so that way you can be the best pedagogue to your students, so that way you can diagnose vocal faults and you can be able to demonstrate properly to your students. I know that resources are limited wherever you might live, but it's just a suggestion. And then let's also think about the question of, well, what if I'm not a great singer at all? No matter how many voice lessons I take, I just don't feel confident in my own singing. I think there's still an aspect of modeling that needs to be done. But let's say you might have a really, really confident student in your ensemble that would be okay modeling from time to time. I've had to do that because I've taught so many treble singers before, and I pull that student aside before class or, in preparation for the week, and I say, hey, I might need you to model some things for me because of the fact that I'm a male and I would rather not sing in my falsetto. And you might have them say, oh, yeah, absolutely, I don't care. Especially my students that have taken voice lessons or currently take voice lessons, they would not mind at all. And I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. Some kids they just love to show off and demonstrate and be helpful. So you just have to find those students and not put them on the spot, number one. But to be able to find those kids that can help you out in that aspect will totally save you so much grief of, I'm modeling for my kids, but they're going nowhere. Well, if you have that kid that's a little bit more trained, then they can definitely demonstrate for you, so that way your students can take off of their lead as well. Once your students have mastered that beautiful tone that you want so deeply, affirm the crap out of them. Please, please, please. Because how will they know that they're doing it right? Because you affirm them. You say, wow, that was beautiful. Sing like that all the time. I've even gone to lengths of recording them and playing it back to them and being like, wow, this was so beautiful. This was gorgeous. You should sing like this all the time. Or even finding really, really beautiful recordings online. YouTube is a godsend. Find some really awesome recordings and play those recordings for your students so that way they can understand what good tone is as well. I stole this from one of my great friends, Justin Chase, and this was also another voice exploration tool. And I had my students place their hands on their chest, and I had them go, Simba, and they all repeated after me, Simba, and they felt that vibration in their chest. And then I had them place their hands on their forehead, almost also placing their thumbs on their cheekbones. And I had them go, Nala, to feel that resonation in their forehead, that head voice resonation. So that way we practiced the chest resonance the chest register and also the head voice register. So that way we know the difference between the two. And we did that multiple times so that way they could feel that difference. Sometimes we have to go to the extreme so that way our students are really clear with what we want. For instance, yesterday I had my advanced tenor bass choir. I had them sing a really nasty nasal E vowel like they were the Wicked Witch of the West. And then after that, I had them lower their jaw, still thinking about that forward placement with that nasty nasal E. And then we were able to create the space, which then rounded out the tone and the sound. I think it's about playing with the different vocal colors and timbres of the human voice that is so cool. It makes our job so much fun. Every voice is individual and different and unique, but when we're able to create a blended sound in our choir, oh man, it is so delish. And you find that blended sound by just playing with different colors and timbres. And this is more of an advanced technique as well. But let's say that you are singing a ballad and it is an Elaine Hagenberg piece. And the tone might be lofty, it might be resonant, it's going to be probably rich for her gorgeous chords that she writes and her long, luscious lines for her lyric pieces. This is probably a really obvious question, but do you think that the tone would be the same for, let's say, Jake Runstad's Nyun Nyun song? Probably not, right? Sometimes we make those mistakes where we get this idea of tone and we get married to, this is the tone that I like, this is the tone that I prefer, and all of my pieces are going to sound the same with this same exact tone. I'm not quite sure if composers really want that. This topic is there's lots of controversy behind it because tone is so subjective. One choir director might think one way of how their choir should sound, and then another director is going to think another way about how their choirs should sound. I will just say, number one, you should be thinking about a healthy tone. That's number one. Does your choir sound healthy? For those of you that still feel like tone is still a mystery to you, keep trying, keep seeking the knowledge, because that's when you are going to improve and get better at teaching your students what it means to sing with beautiful tone. Remember that it's not going to happen overnight. Remember that it's going to take baby steps, really small steps, to build a habit of beautiful tone. Also, disclaimer, I am not the tone police, so don't come after me if you don't agree with me with anything that I said in this episode. But it's just to hopefully get you to think a little bit more about building that tone. And maybe it did give you some pointers that you didn't think about before. But my best suggestion is to go online, find some really great recordings of adolescent choirs singing. I love listening to children's choirs. There's some really awesome ones out there. So when you find them, listen to them on repeat and try to have that sound in your brain as your oral image as a starting point. And things will change, I promise you. All right, Choirwire fam, that's a wrap on today's episode. Developing tone in adolescent singers is messy, it's magical, and it's totally worth it. Keep showing up with patience, humor, and high standards wrapped in warmth. If this episode sparked ideas, tag me in your rehearsal wins or send me your favorite tone building hacks. And if you've got a student who cracked mid-phrase and laughed it off, that's growth. That's gold. Until next time, y'all. If Choirwire has added a little harmony to your rehearsal week or sparked something new in your planning, consider supporting the show. Just head on over to choirwire.buzzsprout.com to help support. No pressure, just a simple way to keep the ideas flowing and the episodes coming. I have ideas of expanding the show past my small platform. Thank you for all you do, and thanks for being part of this community.